Welcome to Our Drummers Musicians. Recorded on a cozy couch in Brunswick, join us as we explore what it truly means to be a musician and speak to the diverse talents that make music in our city. I'm your host, Luke. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Kathleen Halloran, a guitarist whose diverse array of skills has quickly made her a go-to musician for some of Australia's leading artists. As the guitarist for Australian icon Kate Ceberano, Kathleen tours, records and performs across Australia as a key collaborator and member of Kate's band. She's also played with renowned artists such as Katie Noonan, Felix Riebl, Iva Davies, William Barton, Jade McRae, Jimmy Hocking, and Darren Middleton, to just name a few. Kathleen's guitar work is featured on countless recordings, in orchestra pits for major music theatre productions, and on stages at significant festivals nationwide. Kathleen spent time studying at AIM and the VCA, and has gone on to work as a session musician and artist in her own right. She has performed at events such as the 2023 Adelaide Guitar Festival, the Melbourne Guitar Show, Crossroads Guitar Festival, the Melbourne International Jazz Festival, Snodington Jazz Festival, and the Melbourne International Women's Jazz Festival. She is the leader of Kathleen Halloran Trio and has been working on a new project, her debut album, showcasing her talents as a vocalist and songwriter. Join us as we delve into Kathleen's journey with music, her experiences working with Kate Ceberano and various other artists, and her insights into the creative process behind her music, mentorship, and her enthusiasm for music making. We want to take a moment to acknowledge the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation as the traditional custodians of the land in which this podcast was recorded. We pay our respects to their elders past and present. I'll hold on to Scout because she's in suddenly a very weird and excitable mood. But how have you been since I've seen you last at the gig?
I've been well. I've been really busy, but just sort of a rare, beautiful kind of busy where it's all great stuff and very creatively
Sick.
Happy. Yeah.
Because how much do you get to play your music versus, doing your session stuff with different bands and Kate and stuff like that?
That's it's so often ebbing and flowing, that sort of balance.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, I've been able to work on my stuff a lot, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you just get it's just like there's waves of stuff. Like you just get caught under a wave of great stuff, but other people's stuff, and then 2 months later you sort of rise, put your head above water, and then be like, okay, I'm going to do my thing again. And then you do that for a little while, and then another wave comes, and eventually you are moving in the right direction.
Does it feel like the right direction is your music? Is that what you mean by that?
Oh, actually, wrong direction is the wrong term. Like, you're making progress, I should say. Like, you sort of do a bit and then get distracted in other stuff, and when you come back to it, you are further along than you were, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not like you go backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's nice to see you play, because I was trying to think where the last time was that I'd seen you play, and it was definitely sometime like pre-COVID. And then I can't remember when we met. I've been racking my brain trying to think, but it must have been some like cross-uni band or recital or something. Do you remember?
I believe, was it Caitlin? Caitlin's recital from...
At the TOF or something?
At the TOF. Her last name escapes me, but...
Thomas. Caitlin
Thomas, yes. At the TOF was her final recital.
Oh.
And I had forgotten my music, or something happened. It was cursed. And I was like freaking out. But yeah, you were on drums.
Oh, sick. All right. Well, that was fun. So,
have we started, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Awesome.
This is it.
Cool.
It's just a chat.
Great.
I can hit you with like hard-hitting journalist-style questions, but my preference is just to hang, and people seem to like it.
Yeah, no, that's good.
If that's right with you.
Yeah.
Sick?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I wanted to ask. I'll ask a serious question. What drove you to study music at jazz school rather than, pursue music in a different way, given that a lot of the music that you play is in like the band scene?
Yeah.
Where not everybody's done like a traditional study music theory and performance at like a tertiary level course. Were you thinking about that stuff when you were young?
Yeah, I think when I was in school, I definitely had the mentality that you had to study. Like it was, if you wanted to be legit, you needed a degree. Like,
Right.
which not necessarily is correct, but I definitely had that viewpoint. And I was already in lots of like I was gigging a lot, which I had that great fortune of having opportunities when I was really young. So I was in cover bands, I was in doing musical theatre, and I was doing all that as well. But then I thought I needed to, and I had great teachers who also told me about the importance of the connections that a place like a university might bring, and not just with mentors but peers. Like one thing I lacked as a teenager was sort of mutual peers my own age who were sort of thought like me and were as excited as me as a music. I went to a very sort of small school.
Was it in Melbourne?
Geelong.
Okay.
It was a great school and I loved it, but the music department was so small and such a small part of the school, and I often felt like my best friends were my teachers. The people I really connected with on music was my guitar teacher and my classroom music teacher. And so I was really looking forward to finding a community of people my own age who also were crazy about music, and I knew I'd find that in a tertiary music education.
Yeah, sure.
And I also just had, right or wrong, I thought a degree would make me more legitimate. And I thought I did, I was at AIM for a year before I studied jazz.
Okay.
Because I actually didn't get into VCA when I first auditioned, because I wasn't a jazz player. I was just sort of pulling it all together at the last minute to try and make the cut, and I didn't make the cut. So I went to AIM and I loved it at AIM, and that was a contemporary pop course. I made some of my best friends for life at AIM in the first week, and
cool.
Mostly my teachers again, but and the cohort as well, like people who just really loved music, and that's often enough to get you going. But then I deferred that for some professional opportunities, like performance opportunities, and then rather than going back there, I just felt like I really wanted to get deep into the craft of jazz, because I knew, even though I didn't consider myself a great jazz player, and I honestly don't think I even liked it that much, but I knew that there was a lot of merit and value in learning it, and I knew that it was really challenging, and therefore I should pursue it. And so I thought I'm going to go deeper into that study, and so I reapplied for VCA and got in and spent 3 years there. Never graduated, but no, I didn't graduate.
How close did you get?
Very close. But I did 3 years there, but then some more story of my life so far, more gigging opportunities came in that I were too good to not take, and it just sort of got further and further away from university, and I never went back and finished.
Wow. Oh, well, yeah. So what was it like then, I guess, because you're from a big family too.
Yes.
Like small music program where there's no one else like thinking like you and no one else in your family plays. How did you first like get into starting to gig? Because you didn't have that like, I don't know, like start a band at high school and play with the group thing.
I did have friends who played music at school, and we did have a band, but it was just I was so obsessed with music, and I just breakfast, lunch, and dinner was music. So it wasn't on that level, but I did have sort of pals, and we had a rock band and we had a jazz band and all that sort of stuff. So it wasn't
the fun school band sort of thing, but no one was taking it, I guess, to the next level. Yeah,
I always had big dreams.
Okay.
And it was all thanks to my guitar teacher at high school.
Okay.
Steve Hobbs, who sort of, I guess he saw me, like he saw the passion, and now that I'm a teacher now too, and it's not often like, you do see in a student when not that they're amazing or anything, but just that they love it, and that like it takes a certain amount of love to be able to make it through all of the barriers and all of the heartbreak of trying to make a living out of music. And I think he saw that with me, I just wanted it so much, and it was all that was meant for me. And he recognized that, and then he got me he just employed me to play in his cover band.
Oh, cool.
He introduced me to all of his working musician friends. So instantly at 15 or 16, I felt like a working musician, even though I was a kid and I was playing bass a lot of the time. It was like, I'm doing it, and this is, it was bigger. Like I was able to sort of live out this fantasy in my head of whether it was reality or not. But so he gave me my first and really important opportunities to start living and breathing music.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just grew from there.
Oh, that's so special. Like to have a teacher like that.
Yeah.
Really like.
Yeah, owe a lot to him.
Do you still get to play just for a bit of fun?
Occasionally.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sick.
So I went to school in Geelong and live in Melbourne. So occasionally we'll get to play together, and yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, what was it like then being a non-jazz nerd at like a jazz course?
I felt very insecure, but I wasn't when I was there, I sort of really leaned into it, and I became a bit of a jazz nerd because that's what you did. But I think I was quite insecure that I wasn't, I was very out of my depth, I felt.
Right.
Yeah.
Did that change?
No, not really.
Okay.
The only thing that changed is as I started doing more gigs, I became more comfortable in who I was, which wasn't that anyway.
Right.
I don't consider myself a strong jazz player. And I guess I just became more confident in that and what I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then it sort of evaporated anyway because it didn't really matter too much to me.
Yeah, sure.
But when you're in it, like especially first and second year, when you go from being sort of in high school the only one to going into a jazz school where everyone's better than you, or see like you just think everyone's better than you.
Yeah.
But that was a great challenge. Yeah.
Did you make any friends out of the VCA, like the cohort that you were going through, that you're still playing music with now?
Definitely. Great connections. Often you'll rock up to gigs that you don't know much about, and you'll be on the stage with people you studied with, and they're all doing great. And also my teachers as well. Like you just make connections with them, and people like Andrea Keller, who now runs the course at VCA, was such an amazing support for me and gave me some great opportunities to really push myself in that genre while I was there. Yeah.
It seems like you have this great ability to connect with your peers, but also the teachers in a way that's sort of like stepping through the relationship of just instructor to student, but like more of these like mentor roles and opportunities. Yeah.
Thanks. I've never thought about it, but I guess maybe it's just pure enthusiasm that breaks through. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I just like noticed like, just like your high school teachers like getting you to play in the bands.
Yeah.
And then, the different people from AIM, it's like, it's not just the other students, but there's a lot of great teachers there, and you've made those connections, and then, all the different people at the VCA and like your long-standing relationship with Kate. It's like, just all these, like it's going beyond what is often just like, oh, this was a nice time where I got to like learn all of this information from the teacher, and then it went. But like, it's like you're forming these deeper connections, and
it's true.
Yeah, pretty special.
Thank you. It's true.
I don't want to make you like too introspective, but like, how does it feel now where you're starting to, be the teacher and the person on stage that young musicians and stuff like are looking up to, and you're starting to become the figure of that musician that someone's looking at going, oh, I'd love to play guitar on stage like Kathleen or...
Yeah, I to be honest, I try not to think too much about it because it sort of makes me overthink things and question too much, I think, in not a positive way. But what is really known to me and I take very seriously is my opportunity to be a role model for young females on the instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And I take that very seriously, and And I often see, and I have a lot of young female students, and we don't necessarily have to talk too much about the fact that, about gender at all really in the lessons, but just the pure fact of it is what it is. I do really, I am very passionate, and I feel very honoured to have that role potentially for people, and to just be out there doing it and allow others to see that it's possible, and that you can have a great time, and you can work your way through all the different trials and challenges that young women have to face in order to sort of cross over that line. And yeah, so I am very aware of that, and I really enjoy being able to be mentor to some great young up-and-coming guitarists and artists. That is super special.
How do you think you were able to push through those different challenges as like a young musician?
For me, I feel like I'm speaking from a very unique, and I was very, very, very lucky and fortunate, and I'm totally aware of that. But it was like I just had the most amazing mentors, and that is my story, is being looked after and being cared, like someone seeing you and just seeing right into you and being like, I want to help you go to the next level, and then holding your hand through it, and then getting to that next level, and then someone else seeing you and being, I see you and I want to help you move through. And that does not happen to everyone. It's just not the way the world is, unfortunately. A lot of people, the opposite of that is what's more common, and someone has an opportunity and then their heart's just broken into a million pieces because they weren't seen, or they were taken advantage of, or something happens and then that person is destroyed. The complete opposite of the amazing experience I had. So, what was the question? Sorry.
Well, we were sort of talking about, how you'd worked through being like a young female artist.
Okay, yeah. So really hanging close to people I trusted and really fully trusted their intentions. Mm-hmm. And I leaned in fully, and I took sort of a ignorant sort of gamble on that. I just loved music.
Yep.
And just fully put my trust in these people, and that worked for me because I met the most beautiful people and the right people for me. So that's what because I feel that so strongly, and now as a teacher, that's also plays into the role that I can see me doing for like-minded people. When I identify that in students, I think that's the best thing I could do for young people.
Sure. So what was the big gig that stopped the graduation ceremony from your VCA course?
Kate Ceberano.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this after you played in is it Women of Soul, or there was like a it was like a special showcase gig, if memory serves correct? Yeah,
that was Stand By Your Woman.
That's right.
Which was at Hamer Hall, put on by Zanny Kolak. Amazing contemporary violinist. She put together an all-female house band and put together 5 or 6 guest artists, and Kate was one of them. And that was one of those significant moments in my life where I'm talking about, where she was the next person to come along and transform me into a whole other musician and human. So we just, in the rehearsal room, just instantly hit it off. And just, she was like, you, great solo, come to my gig, hang out. And then that just started like that. Cool. Now I would consider her one of my absolute best friends.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Did it feel like the best solo that you'd played at the time? Or were you just like, I don't know, like stressed as like a young musician, just trying to do your best, and then it just happened afterwards?
I was so nervous.
Yeah.
But I also knew the importance of playing in that room and having that gig. Like I took it so seriously. The fact that I had this random opportunity to play in this band, like I was just like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. I can't wait. So I did prepare a lot, I guess, but no, I wasn't at the stage where I could think, oh, that was great. I was like so just nervous and shaking and excited.
What did you think about like Kate Ceberano's music beforehand? Like, had you been a fan or follower of hers, or was she sort of just like doing music that was adjacent to what you were listening to? Especially if you're like, I don't know, with the jazz nerd hat on a bit.
No, well, she's an incredible jazz singer, like absolutely incredible. Like one thing that I always admired about Kate is that her versatility and her ability to do basically any style of music, and that's driven from her just pure enthusiasm for and passion for music and audiences. Like and then working in her band, I've got a whole new level of her craft and her ability to connect to audiences, which is a new found, because I didn't know that before. I just sort of thought that she was just one of those living legends who's done so many things. I remember seeing her on TV and seeing her sing, but seeing her on Dancing with the Stars and seeing her in all these different ways. So she just had like that legendary status in my mind. Yeah.
What was it like then developing that relationship over the years to, become like a permanent member of her band and, now consider her a close friend?
It was all it's like similarly to other things. It's just so natural. We just genuinely connected on so many things, like on music and just life and purpose, family. So there's just so much. And then when you start working, we did a lot together over COVID, and that whole period really sort of the challenges of that period when it just brings you closer to the people you're around and that you're working with. So we really got to know each other in COVID, and then coming out of COVID, we're really a very strong team. And she's managed by her husband, and she's also got a daughter, Gypsy, who's just started singing, and it's just such a tight little team. So very lucky to be a part of it.
So how much like creative control do you have over like the guitar parts or the music that you're playing as a whole?
In Kate's band?
Yeah.
Oh, it just depends what the gig is, I guess.
Okay.
Because every gig's different. We've just finished an orchestral tour celebrating her 40th year in the business. So that was very sort of deliberate, like parts were written out, and it was all sort of, there was some improvising in it, but it was all very structured. But a typical gig, it could go anywhere. That's one of the things that makes Kate so great, is that her shows there's never the same set list twice. There's hardly ever a planned set list. It's just sort of, it just flows.
Yeah, sure.
So it could go anywhere.
Does she call the tunes, or is there an MD as part of the band?
Yeah, no, she calls the tunes.
Cool.
Yeah.
We had Tony Floyd on the podcast, who plays with the Black Sorrows, and similarly, no set list ever. Joe just turns around and says this song, or he starts playing like the intro, and similarly, like has been in the scene for so long, so the catalog for the band is like massive, and you've just got to know the tunes. That's interesting. That's the same thing.
Well, Kate's guide is the audience always. So
right,
if she gets a vibe that they want a certain thing, she'll just change direction and give it and change. Yeah.
Do you enjoy that?
I do. Keeps you on your toes, and it's always exciting, and it's always fresh. It's always sort of dangerous.
Well, chucking on like the band leader hat, how do you go like switching modes? Does it feel different when it's like your trio or some of like the new original stuff you're working on versus like when you're playing in Kate's band or any other like session music gigs where you've got the role, I guess, of someone else is the leader versus when you are?
I think it feels pretty similar. I guess the biggest difference is just the responsibility level. When it's my thing, you've got to be across everything, and you've got to make sure everyone's getting the right pay, everyone's fed, everyone's got the songs, everyone's got set lists, all of those details. You're the person, and you've got to be answerable to whatever people need, and you've got to fill the room with people. that's the biggest thing. If you're trying to do it on your own, you need to get people out to your gigs, and that can be quite tiring.
Yeah, how do you cope with that? And
I don't really.
Yeah.
I don't, but it's so exciting when you do a gig and people are there that it sort of refreshes itself. Like you forget.
Okay.
You forget about the stress when you play and there's people there and you're like, wow, that's great. Let's book another gig.
Whilst you're still in the high of the post gig. Yeah. Okay. Well, how do you go, like, what's it like for you when you're playing? Are you able to switch off from that, I'm thinking about, are there enough people in the audience and did we sell enough tickets?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Once a gig starts, definitely.
Do you have a process or anything for that?
No, I wouldn't say I do. I just... unless there's like no one there, then it would be on my mind. But as soon as you sort of hit sound check and you're comfortable on there, it just becomes music. And as soon as you have an audience, it's real and it's like, you're in it. I don't know how to explain that. No, I don't really have a process.
Yeah. What about for like guitar stuff? Like, do you do warm-ups or like, I don't know, check through your gear, or do you just, I don't know, are you more of like a it's just happening kind of
No,
guy?
I definitely check through my gear because often there's gear gremlins. So I'll check through that, make sure my leads all work, because there's no worse feeling than having a lead break or something when you're on stage. But warm up, there's sound check obviously. I'll run whatever. If there's something on my mind, we'll run it in sound check. But preparation happens for me in the days leading up, or weeks, months, days leading up to the gig rather than on the gig day. Sure.
What's your like method for learning tunes?
I'm a crammer.
Okay.
If it's a gig where you've got to have specific repertoire, like a once off or something, where you've got to just get a whole, like you've got to have note for note things. I'm a really effective crammer. Like I can really cram, which comes in handy. And then I'll forget about it the day after the gig and it will be wiped. But that's one method. But if it's something like I'm trying to develop and refine skills and like a voice and sound, it's a different process. It's like, that's my daily sort of more technique-y based sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So sort of two different ways that I approach gigs.
Yeah. When did you realize that you had your own voice on the guitar?
I don't even know that I've made it that far. I'll say when I don't think I've got there. I think I'm still searching, but when people come up to me at gigs and tell me from their perspective that they've been moved or they've never seen something like it before, then I can at least take that from their perspective that's true. I not necessarily haven't reached that from my perspective yet, but it's certainly I do definitely, that means a lot when people say it, because that means that I have made an impact on these particular people in some way.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
It was pretty special. I sent you a text after your gig at the Union Hotel just in Brunswick.
Yeah.
Because, I brought my camera down, so I was just like checking a few settings and things at the end before running off. But there are a whole bunch of just different tables and all these different people saying all these like, super lovely things
so
about
nice.
you. And, I feel like you garner like a keen interest and like a real connection with an audience when you play. So much so that it's just overflowing with people's chatter is not just like, oh, the music was great, or, when are we heading home, or, do you want to get another drink? It's like, oh, wow, like it's just spilling out in an audience in a way that I hadn't seen at a gig in ages.
Oh, wow, that's so lovely. Thank you.
Well, it wasn't me saying anything.
No, well, it's nice. You reported back.
I feel like it's one of those things where like when you're playing a show, you don't necessarily get the like direct feedback. And I thought
That's so
I should
cool.
just pass it on. So I just
Thank
whipped my
you.
phone out and wrote it down a
Yeah,
bunch of
thank
things
you.
I was saying. But lots of it was like, oh wow, she's like, she has this sound, or like she's quite mature in her playing, or that was really special, and like it was really connecting, and like I don't know. I feel like sometimes gigs can feel great or they can feel terrible, and unless you get like a direct line to the
Yeah.
audience, like sometimes I don't know, you can just like get in your own head about
Yeah.
it. So I just wanted to like share it, and I think
Thank
it's
you.
good. Just I don't know, encouragement of musicians.
Yeah.
Like in a time where everything is like so digital, and the like negative comments. I don't know. At least for me, if anyone like says something more negative, it's like easy for that to like overwhelm all of the other like positive attention. But I just thought it was so special that it's like
Yeah, it is.
organically overflowing praise.
It's amazing.
But
It's
not even
very
given to you.
undeserved.
Just-
but it's lovely. It means a lot.
How do you go with dealing with compliments and things like that if you're not feeling I don't know.
Yeah, I've gotten better at it over the last few years, and my attitude on it is that it's so lovely that person wants to tell you that, and that's the most important thing. Like, I would never say to someone, like, I would never shut down someone going out of their way to pass on something lovely. But I also don't let it, like, I feel like if I thought about it too much, some of the things, like, it would be it would be more of a distraction to me staying on my path and my development sometimes. So it's just honestly, it's hard to believe when some of the things that people tell you at gigs, but I can believe that they mean it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And that's really special. But for me to believe it in myself, I feel like I've still got a lot more work to do.
I suppose like that that attitude is what helps you continually grow, and you're not becoming complacent.
Hope so.
Yeah. Well, and you're very humble too. But like, I think it's great that you're able to like, give someone the recognition of like, you've had this experience, so I'm not like completely shutting you down with like a no, like you've got no idea how terrible my guitar playing is or something, you know, like
because people have done that to me, like when I've been like, that was amazing, and I've really meant it, and they'll be like, nah, I stuffed up my solo. It's like, no, it was great.
Yeah.
and so I've been on the other end of it and been like, oh, that's kind of a bit of a drag. So yeah, I've certainly done that a lot though, but I'm getting better at it.
I think it comes across in such a good way for people that it's great that you've spent the time thinking about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Not just in your head so much that you are thinking about the solo that, you know, maybe it, you know, you're waiting and missed a musical cue, but it hasn't just like stuck in your brain so much that you've got to tell everybody else about it afterwards. What's it like going into this like new phase where you're starting to work on like original music and singing yourself and, finding like, I guess like the next development of your musical career?
It's really exciting. It's daunting, but really, really exciting. Like it's such a great challenge to push myself way out, and you can only do it by doing it, like doing a gig and doing it really badly, like which I've done plenty of times, because singing's really new, and I can't just automatically sing really well like all my friends do. So being okay with putting on low-key gigs and just giving it a go and sort of bashing through, having bad sound and working through it. So that's sort of the stage I'm at with it. But the biggest challenge is finding the time to dedicate purely to that, because it feels sometimes it can feel a bit selfish and very indulgent to sit and work on your own thing for too long. And there's always other stuff going on that always will take priority because it's like, oh, well, that's more important right now. I've got to do that for that person. And so often, and I am trying to push through that and make time, but yeah, it's the time factor to really feel like you're having a good crack at it and preparing, getting the preparation in. But yeah, it's exciting, and I'm looking forward to doing more of it and getting something out, like releasing something.
What are you most excited about?
Just doing it. Like I've been a guitarist for as long as I've been sort of able to play. I've been working as a guitarist, and I always never thought I would be a singer because I always loved being in the background and just sort of playing the supportive role. And just now that I've sort of opened the box and sort of had a taste of it, I think it's really exciting, and I want to dream up what the live show will look like, and what my band will be, and what, how we're going to build the set and make a really cool thing for the audience. Like it's just, yeah, it's a different hat. It's like, yeah, different eyes.
I feel like you're in this interesting spot, so I'd like to know how you feel about it, where like the singing is new for you, but the band leading is not new.
Yes.
And like playing shows of people's original music is not new, but playing your original music is new.
Yeah.
And then you're also like just starting to do your original music.
Yeah.
Whereas like with Kate's band, you've been playing with for ages.
Yeah.
And it's like, like you said, legendary status of like Australian musician.
Yeah.
How do you feel about like all the like, oh, I've got all this great experience that I can draw on to like help me, but not like, I guess, let the like pressure of, I don't know, expectation or other experiences come into it.
Yeah, it's super real. It's a real thing. The first couple of gigs I did, which is only like a year ago, where I've started singing on gigs, I've never been more nervous. Like probably the same level of nerves as when I was 17 doing my first thing. Mm-hmm. Same level of nerves, purely from having to sing and be. I was doing solo shows, so it was just me. I was the only one. So it's amazing. Also, the thing I'm finding is from having that all of that attention on singing and communicating in that way, I lost like 50% of my facility on the guitar, the way I'm used to, because my brain is off somewhere else, like stuff you take for granted. So all of a sudden I was half as good on the guitar and a really average singer trying to play and trying to pull together an hour set.
Wow.
That was scary. But slowly, the more I do it, the more I build back that guitar. And that's exciting too. Like that's an amazing challenge. And I find I love going into rehearsal studios and booking a room and standing with a microphone and a PA and an amp and just getting that practice at sort of show level, because it's different. It's so different to doing it at home. So different. So yeah, that's the journey I'm on.
Yeah. It's exciting.
It is definitely exciting.
We've been playing this little game on the podcast where I get each guest to ask a question of the next guest. And I forgot that I was going to play this one at the start of the podcast. And we've already sort of touched on a few things that this guest's question is about.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you the question anyway. Through your cans. So this is from Louis Smith, who is like a classical guitarist at the Con. I don't know if you know Louis. And he plays in a bunch of other bands too, like Gush. And this is Louis' question.
Okay, so the next guest is our drummers, musicians. Firstly, welcome to the show. And secondly, my question for you is, how do you, like, does the music you play currently reflect your whole being as a musician? And if no, I guess why not? That's no judgment attached to that. But yeah, also I guess like it would be awesome to hear your thoughts on how much of a I stuffed up this question already, but how much of your overall musicianship is reflected through your actual playing?
It's a really relevant question to me right now because I'm in the stage of putting together a few different set lists for different shows, and it's making me really excited and happy doing it because I feel like it's really it is actually a really good reflection of the player I want to be, and it's a good game and tactic I have to throw in certain repertoire into set lists when I really want to sort of push myself and deep dive into particular skills and techniques and styles. So yeah, I do think I would say that it does reflect me at the moment, my band set list, and I'm putting together a blues show with Jimmy Hocking and Jeff Atchison, and we've been going back and forth for like 2 weeks, just like excited kids, putting together a set list with songs, and each song is deliberate, like it's picked for a reason, and I think it does reflect me pretty well at the moment, which is cool.
Yeah, that must be nice to like reflect on and be like, this is me.
Yeah.
Well, what would you like to ask our next guest?
Can I know who the guest is?
No. That's the part of the fun. Because we just fluked upon a super relevant question just for you. And at times we've had the opposite, and it's kind of interesting.
Okay. My question is, well, it's not so much a question, but more of a conversation. Tell us about the first moment that comes to mind where you knew that music was forever for you as a career. Is that a good enough question?
Yeah.
It's a reflective thing.
Did you feel like you had a moment, or you were just so passionate forever, and then, as opportunities presented themselves, you just took them?
It was definitely when I had the chance to work as a teenager, but to be out of school at a pub or something, or musical theatre, doing it, and it was like, I can do it. This is what people can do. And it was that moment where it flipped over from hobby or dream into like, cool, reality.
Right. You're like, I'm getting paid. We're doing it. Like, it's not just something I'm thinking about, but you're hands-on, I guess, starting out. Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
Wouldn't have had a clue how I was going to do it or what it took to do it, but I just knew that it was doable.
It's interesting that I think you had that insight and excitement. Like, I don't know, like it's unique, and I've been really lucky to hear all these different people tell like all the different stories.
Yeah, right.
About, like how they got started or that moment that you're asking about and stuff. I think it's just awesome that you've like had that excitement and passion.
I feel like, everyone's got a moment in as excuse me, as big or as little as that moment is, or as significant or as insignificant. Everyone can think back to a moment where they had that thought and they chose to continue. And I'm always really interested to hear all of my favorite musicians have the most incredible, significant stories. So they all share that in common. And I love hearing them.
It's special when you find out what those moments were for people, I think. Like, they're so pivotal. Yeah. And I think for me, like, chatting with you, it's so nice just to see how passionate you are still now. Like, it's not like you're getting, jaded or
I'm a kid.
Yeah. I don't know about that, but like, you're just so passionate, and it's like, oh, well, the next thing, it's really exciting just because I get to do it. Like, you know,
Yeah.
how like authentic and like simple
you.
and great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very simple. Like, I'm very simple in that way. Just, yeah. And a kid about it.
When did you first, like, final big question, when did you first like notice that you wanted to do music? If it was like high school when you started like playing, was there a moment like when you were really young when you first like remember hearing a song or someone gave you a guitar or you saw a show or something like that that, you know, first sort of started the passion for music?
When I was in primary school, my brother closest to me in age sort of dabbled on the guitar, so he had one and I thought he was really cool. And he never continued with it beyond sort of his teenage years, but we sort of started having this fantasy sort of family band together where I wouldn't know what I was doing on the guitar, but I would just sort of strum nothing and sing random words. But so that was sort of like a fun little fantasy. And then my sister had an ex-boyfriend who played, and we thought he was so cool, and he would be listening to bands like the Beatles and James Taylor and lots of 60s stuff. And that was the first music that I really fell in love with as a music fan. And that's the music I started playing as well, sort of Beatles songs.
Yeah, sure.
Just strumming along, and Simon and Garfunkel and Carole King. So that is how it began, sort of the very end of primary school. And then because I was sort of that way inclined when I got to high school, it was music program, join a band, start lessons, and then it went from there.
Well, outside of like the music you're playing now, what's the music that you're most excited about listening to? Are you still like nostalgic or?
Yeah, I'm very nostalgic.
Yeah?
I listen to the same music.
Still like James Taylor and Carole King and like that scene?
Yeah, but I kind of just listen to everything now. All styles. I couldn't really tell you one thing that I listen to more than others. But,
okay.
Madison Cunningham I love at the
yeah?
moment. Yeah. She's probably my favourite artist in the last 10 years.
All right, 5 quick questions, short answer questions to wrap up. What's your favourite venue to play in Melbourne?
Well, I've only played it once, and it was a very special treat, but the Forum.
What about a dream venue to play at?
The MCG.
Ah.
Like on the field.
Have you not played an MCG?
Not. I've done like a corporate box there, but
Yes.
not like I want to play like on the ground.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah.
What is your coffee order?
Oh, it's just changed. This is not a short question. But standardly, a double shot, small latte with 3/4 milk.
What is your favourite place to get food after a gig in Melbourne?
My local cafe, which is open at night, which is called Saucy Morsey in St Kilda.
Ah. What do they specialise in?
Pasta
Okay.
and good vibes.
Are they like a sit-down place or
Yeah.
like a... Okay, not
Yeah.
one of the new pasta in a box
No.
trend things.
No.
Yeah, cool.
No.
All right, final question. What is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Stay enthusiastic. Go for it.
Well done on achieving that.
So far, so good.
Yeah, clearly. No, this has been so lovely. Thanks, Kathleen, for coming to...
And have faith.
Mm.
Have faith.
What do you mean by that?
Just like try to see the best in things. Like have faith that it could be what you dream it to be, and not something else.
It's great advice, and I think you've really embodied that. Like,
thank you.
Yeah, to a T.
I love your dog.
I'm glad she's finally stopped trying to like lick your face and he's happy to have a cuddle. Yeah, no, thank you for this. It's really special to get the chance to like, you know, have a big chat with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you're very welcome. If anyone wants to like check out your music and, you know, help like throughout various projects or like book you as a session player or anything like that, what's the best place for people to go to that I can chuck up on our website? Like I can do as many links as you want, but is there a general place that like you like to communicate or direct people towards?
Yeah, either my Instagram, kathleen.halloran.music, I think it is, or my website, kathleenhalloran.com.
Cool. So simple, so easy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us on Our Drummers Musicians. I hope you enjoyed diving into the world of another musician as much as I did. Help us grow by leaving a review and sharing the podcast with your friends, family, favourite artist, or anyone else who might enjoy it. For more info and updates, visit ourdrummersmusicians.com. See you next time.